Guys, listen, let's talk about Mixtape. So listen, Mixtape, people, man, the conversation around this game just won't stop. It will not stop. You want to know why? Because it's got the funding to not stop. The Gamer has now put out an article, okay? They put out an article talking about Mixtape coming under fire for supposedly not having gameplay. Now, here's the thing with industry-planted video games, all right? Industry-planted video games that are so extremely obviously plants are also paid to essentially have the defense force come out and try to stop the negative connotations about the game. And the gaming journalists always do this, right? They do this all the time with video games that are currently, you know, either being made fun of by the chuds or being supposedly attacked by the chuds or whatever the case may be. So now they're doing it again. They posted this on X. Somebody shared this with me. It says that Mixtape is coming under fire for not having gameplay, which just isn't true. Now, here's the thing. Before I even read this, all right, I want you guys to understand a couple of things. Twitter is filled with people that purposely try to misunderstand the arguments that are happening, just so that it is impossible for any actual real conversation or discourse to take place. All right? It happens all the time. You're going to have people that are going to be like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Right? Or they'll take what you're saying and they'll misrepresent it, right? So people are saying that this game has no gameplay, right? Now,
why do refrigerators perform well in marathons? Because they always run.
That's terrible. Awful, awful. Thank you for the 5. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean that the game has zero gameplay associated with it, right? That doesn't mean
gaming
that.
Journalism is dead. Here's why. Why should I read an article about a video game when I can watch a content creator like you play the video game?
That's true. That's absolutely true. But at the end of the day, like, there would be nothing wrong with reading an article about it if they were being honest, but the problem is we know that they're not. There's just way too much history there of the journos not being honest and running damage control and flat out lying to people and getting paid to do so at the same time, that people have pretty much given up on using them for any kind of reliable source of information. Anyway, the point is, they're running damage control for this game, and they're trying to make it seem as if everybody is saying the game does not have gameplay from a literal sense. And that's not what people are saying. People are not saying from a literal sense that it doesn't have gameplay. People are saying that the game doesn't have gameplay from a standard sense of what makes a fucking video game a video game. Because the thing is, even the prompts that show up on screen, from what I've seen anyway, you can ignore pretty much 95% of them and the game will play itself. That there's very minimal opportunities for a failure state, and even if you do fail, all it does is rewind a couple of seconds back and then repeat the scenario. So when people say that the game doesn't have gameplay, they're saying it from the standard sense of what video games should be, which is something that you actually interact with. And this game has barely any interaction to it whatsoever for nearly 3 hours, to the point where it's essentially a movie. And that's what people are saying. So, of course, the gaming journos are going to take what people are saying, misrepresent it, and they're like, well, the chuds are saying that there's no gameplay. Well, that's just not true. There is gameplay. Let me show you. Right? So let's see if I'm right. Again, let's see if I'm right about this nonsense. Well, actually, before I do that, I found something funny about this. Again, this stuff randomly pops up on my feed every now and then. This person, Daikai Zoku, said the following: struggling to watch CC play this fuck-ass game, and I just noticed that the main character's headphones are one of the first results when you Google 1990s wireless headphones, which are not actually 1990s headphones, but just styled to look like them. Now, why is this important? Ladies and gentlemen, why is this fucking important? Okay. The reason why it's important is because what have we been saying about this game? All right. We've been saying that this game was made by people that didn't actually experience whatever the hell they're trying to pass off as nostalgia bait. right? They didn't actually experience it. This entire story with the Mixtape, from what I've seen, and unfortunately I've seen just a little bit too much, the entire story seems like it's some theater kid's dream about what it would have been like to be that person in the 1990s, right? This is the measure of their resolve, where it's kind of similar to what happened to Assassin's Creed Shadows. You probably ask yourself, well, how is that? Well, because I remember when I was talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, I said that I feel like this entire story was made by somebody who simply Googled if there was any black samurais in Japan, found out about the one person Yasuke and his muddied history, and they were like, yep, we're going to run a story, an entire story based off this character. And then they're going to gaslight people and pretend like it's historically accurate, even though they did the bare minimum by just Googling what it was. And that's exactly what happened here. These people, they don't know what an actual 90s headset looked like. So what they did was they just Googled it. They Googled it. They're like, hey, what's a 1990s headset? Oh, it's this one? Okay, we'll use this one. And that's all they did, right? So in any case, and no offense, I strictly remember 1990s headphones being a lot more simplistic than whatever the fuck is around her neck. But in any case, maybe I was just poor. Who knows? Maybe I couldn't afford whatever the fuck this is around her neck. But I remember ultra simplistic headphones. I mean, guys, do you remember the, what do you call it? The first ever headset with the PlayStation with SOCOM? I don't know if you guys can think that far back, but remember SOCOM US Navy SEALs, where the game was sold with the headset as a box, and the fucking headset was so small, it was so trash. It was so fucking trash, bro. That headset was garbage, bro. It was awful. It was so small. It was really bad. So, but in any case, it came with the game, and that's just what it is. So anyway, let's go to their article and see what they got to say. Mixtape is coming under fire for not having gameplay, and that's just not true, guys. That's not true, man. After getting rave reviews from critics, Mixtape is now coming under fire from some players. Guys, you know what? Just call us Voldemort. Just call us Voldemort at this point. Please, for the love of God, because you guys don't want to say, you guys never want to say names. You only want to say names of the people that you agree with, but the people you don't agree with, you're like, some players, some people, some sources. Bro, like, be an adult. Be an adult, bro. Anyway, over claims that it basically plays itself, which just isn't the case at all, guys. The Artful Escape developer Beethoven and Dinosaur's new game Mixtape launched a few days ago and quickly emerged as one of 2026's biggest surprise. Yeah, I was totally surprised. It was such a surprise that Annapurna makes sure to spend so much money to make sure that it was a big surprise. Reviews from critics have cemented it as one of the highest rated games of the year so far, while user reviews on Steam and PlayStation aren't far behind. Perhaps unsurprisingly, not everyone is digging Mixtape's narrative-driven and fairly simplistic gameplay. Fairly simplistic gameplay. This is exactly what people are arguing online, but this journalist is trying to transform fairly simplistic gameplay into no gameplay so that they can write an entire article trying to convince you that the game has gameplay. We know it has gameplay.
If this game is based off the late 90s, then they will be using CD players and not Walkman with crappy headphones.
That is true. Kratos, that is absolutely true. Thank you for the 5. But again, it's all about their like idealized version of the 90s. It's like whatever they view the 90s should have been, right? Because like I said before in my last conversation about Mixtape, there was not a single kid that I know of that was running around getting chased by cops, causing arson, literally being a criminal, and their dad, who's a cop, catches them and was like, you know what? You're right, darling. I'll stop being an oppressive daddy now. You could go do whatever you want to do now. That never happened. That girl would get the shit beat out of her, especially if she was Hispanic. Trust me, speaking from Hispanic experience, she would get absolutely destroyed. But anyway, so perhaps unsurprisingly, not everyone's digging this game. A clip from Christina Tasty showing why they personally hate Mixtape went viral, starting a bunch of discourse about whether it's really a game, let alone one that deserves so much praise. All I know is they better not compare it to better video games, bro. Do not compare it to Heavy Rain. Do not compare it to Detroit Become Human. Don't even go there. I swear, if they go there, I'm going to have an aneurysm. The gameplay clip shows a scene from later on in the game where Stacy's running through a neighborhood to catch up to a friend. Mixtape has a few scenes where the player isn't required to do much for events to play out. And this sequence is perhaps the biggest example of this, as Stacy simply runs ahead and through obstacles if you choose not to press a button to avoid them. Okay, so she didn't lie. Basically, she didn't lie in the segment that she was showcasing. Okay, so what exactly is going on here? While it's fair to say that this moment in particular doesn't have much to engage with, the clip also shows what happens if you purposely don't engage with the game on its own terms. It's also created the assumption that Mixtape doesn't have any gameplay and plays itself, which nobody, oh my God, which isn't the case outside of this one moment that's woefully not being engaged with. As Twitter user, etc. points out, the very first scene in Mixtape where Stacy and her friends skateboard around the big suck, okay, has fail states and needs to be played out to see it through. Like many of Mixtape's gameplay moments, is an uncomplicated one that won't blow anyone away mechanically, but that's not really what the game is aiming for in the first place. So again, the fail states in the game are simply if you run into like a pipe or something, it's going to rewind 5 seconds back. Guys, the argument is that the game has minimalistic gameplay, okay? Minimalistic gameplay to the point where it damn near plays itself. That is undeniable, all right? The game is not like some of the more, I guess you could say, advanced interactive games, right? Like Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human, games like this. It's not like those games. This game is just simply simple, right? Like you can, all you gotta do is move left, move right. You know, like there really isn't too much to it. There's like a segment or two that you could press like a button or two, but realistically, it's like if you take Life is Strange and remove some of the gameplay elements to that game, which it does have gameplay, but surprisingly, you know, anyway, it's not like Heavy Rain or anything like that. If you take away those segments, you essentially get Mixtape. It's, you know, people call it Timu Life is Strange, which is pretty accurate.
Mixtape is big suck. I don't recommend it.
Thank you, Odin Dark. I appreciate the 2, but you need a 5 in order to have the Trump sound. So anyway, it has fail states. Like many of Mixtape's gameplay moments, it's an uncomplicated one. It's not going to blow you away. From my time with the game so far, Mixtape has a lot of these quick moments, from making slushies and skimming stones to jumping around in fields and taking photos. Like a Mixtape itself, it's incredibly vibe-based. It's vibe-based. And a curated experience which isn't going to be for everyone. There are critiques about Mixtape that are fair. Wait. Hold on. Wait. So you're you're writing this whole article and the only example you're going to give is the one person's example? And then you're going to complain about the other person giving only one example? And that's it? That's it? So you're going to be like, because the game has fail states and it rewinds 5 seconds in the past, that it has game... Brother, what? What the fuck is this? This is basically the same as saying it has gameplay because I said so. Oh my... I'm going to have a rage moment. Hold on. I'm going to have an absolute rage moment. Give me a second. So this is the person. I'm not pressing anything, but this time I'm not cherry picking the only section of the game that has this problem. Again, so your idea of gameplay is left and right moving on the stick. This is the game. I'm going to lower the music. This is the gameplay. Okay, so move to the left, move to the right, move to the left, move to the right. People are not saying that there's literally zero gameplay. People are saying that the gameplay is so fucking simple, it is practically a movie. That you're just going to be sitting there pressing essentially one button at any given time, maybe two if you're lucky, and that's it. That's what people are saying. This is literally... Guys, oh my God, my head hurts. Wow, hold on. Okay, so these people are literally doing the typical thing of not purposefully misunderstanding discourse so that discourse cannot happen. This is literally what's happening here. They're trying to misrepresent what people are talking about so that discourse cannot effectively happen about this game Mixtape. They're trying to muddy the fucking waters, and it's sickening. It's annoying. This game has overly simplistic gameplay. It's a 3-hour, barely interactive movie. This is what people are talking about. And you're trying to pass it off as people are saying it has literally zero gameplay. That's not what people are saying. That's never been what people are saying. Jesus fucking Christ, bro. And then the journalist is like, well, I'll write this whole article proving that the game has gameplay by showcasing this person acting like a retard the entire time. And then complain about this person who made a clip acting like a retard the entire time, except the only difference is them acting like a retard was able to complete the section of the game.
Mixtape is Redditor's take on the 90s.
It is.
Make Nepo baby and Redditor's lame again.
It is. It actually is. It is a Redditor's take on the 90s. Somebody was probably never living through the 90s. They were like, gee, I really like the 90s. I can only imagine what it was like to live through the 90s. Hey, let me make an entire video game based off the 90s that almost nobody can actually relate to unless we pay them to relate to it. It's like, bro, come on, stop this shit, man. Listen, I'm going to tell you what the truth about this game is. This game should have been a movie. Straight up. Straight up. The game should have been a movie. This should have been a Into the Spider-Verse styled movie. You can have all the stop motion animation you want. You could turn it into a movie and you could sell it on Netflix. That's it. Annapurna could have afforded to do it, but instead the theater kids got together because they can't make a movie, and they're like, well, you know what we can make? A video game that essentially almost plays itself. That we could do. And that's exactly what they did. What a fucking joke, man. This, like, oh my God. I honestly cannot believe. Well, no, I can. I take that back. I can believe that they're like this. I can believe that they're doing this. Absolutely can believe. And then they turned off replies. Of course they turned off replies. Look at this. They posted this video and then turned off replies. Of course. Why am I not surprised? I point out the fact that there are scenes that require interaction, but somehow the one scene where there's actual stakes on the line, where your friend could be in serious trouble, doesn't have those interactions. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Gene says, yeah, I'm private. I think it sucks because in my opinion, there's dozens of fail states in that clip. You failed to make her do the scene cool. Part of the charm of linear games that you're going through the motions to act out the story as best you can. The consequence of rewinding back 3 seconds, that's barely any different than just auto running. True.
Out there, Redditors and Nevo babies mock my generation. Gen X needs to wake up and kick some people's butts.
I agree. Jason Alto, thank you for the 5, bro. So anyway, guys, this is basically it. I thought that they were going to provide more proof. I thought they were going to go into this whole spiel about how this game has all this gameplay. But I was like, how are they really going to do that? Because the game really doesn't have all this gameplay. So how are they going to pull it together? They're not. What they were hoping for is essentially getting clicks on a article about Mixtape while the topic is hot, and that's essentially it. And they got it. Congratulations. Congratulations. You look stupid, but that's okay. It's unbelievable, man. Mixtape, bro. Shit pissed me off so much. Oh, man.